Hello, Tom Levecki here with the latest edition of the Armchair MBA in collaboration with Monsters Inc. Today, we're going to be talking about the Sicilian connection, post-French connection, and we'll talk a little bit about Narco Wars. This is just a small primer to get it going. Stay tuned. Hello, Tom Levecki here with the latest edition of the Armchair MBA in collaboration with Monsters Inc. We have today's guest, Francesco Fiordilino, ex-Badano associate, hails by the way of Castellammare del Golfo. Francesco, welcome back to the Armchair MBA and Monsters Inc. How are you doing today, sir?
Good. What's up, Tom? What's going on?
All right. So the show is Narco Wars, right? So the first, tell us about Narco Wars and what
it's part of the National Geographic series that they've been having. This is season. It's actually still season 2, but it's actually kind of like going into season 3.
Correct.
And it's covering the heroin pipeline of the 80s, and in particularly on this episode that's coming on tomorrow that I happen to be on, it's covering the Mujahideen and the Sicilian Mafia.
So there's a lot going on there. But to give the backstory and what the Narco Wars season 2, which I highly recommend checking out, Sammy Bull was on there, John Gotti, Carmen Galante, and so forth. One of the things we're finding out is the Italian Mafia, the American Cosa Nostra, is basically the group that set up most of the drug trafficking networks, whether it be even coke, obviously heroin, and so forth. And they go through kind of like what it is now, and they go through what it is back then. But they deep dive in season 3, and specifically the connection of the Sicilians with the Mujahideen out of Afghanistan. But before we get to that, what was happening prior? Tell us about the French connection. You know, they got the drugs from out of Marseille,
right?
Gangsters.
Well, the pipeline. Well, the pipeline back in for the French connection was a little bit different. It went through Turkey into Syria, ISIS territory. What was ISIS territory a little while ago, and from there it went all the way down to Lebanon, which in the Lebanon in the 80s obviously had their own problems. That changed in the 80s. That changed. The pipeline got a little bit more complicated, and so did the situation in Sicily.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to be talked about, particularly a boss at the time that at one time became one of the biggest drug dealing middlemen in the world. So we're going to be discussing him. I don't want to say who it is. I don't want to spoil it. And there's going to be a family member of his on as well. And somebody in the administration at the time is going to be on it as well. So it's a big event. I'm happy to be part of it.
So so to unpack, French connection kind of went by the wayside, got encumbered. Then you're looking at, you say, okay, well, the Sicilians are still in business. They got a relationship with American Cosa Nostra. They have their own affiliates here. So okay, great. We're gonna go ahead and get this stuff from somewhere else. So they wind up getting it from the Middle East, the Mujahideen, which, as we know, was a hotbed for activity with the Afghanis, the Russians, and then later the United States. Without giving too much away, is it fair to say that the Sicilian Cosa Nostra members sat down with known terrorists?
Yes, it's fair to say. Now, can that be proven? Pretty much. I mean, with a certain individual, yes, that was one of the pipelines, and they're going to explore that. The Mujahideen guy, he's going to be on it himself. He was a big figure at the time.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to hear people that you most unlikely want to agree with. What a lot of people thought as a conspiracy at one time, there's people that are going to clear that up for them, and they're going to be like, wow, we knew that all along. And it's going to be a great episode. I was like, wow, I was just kind of like glad to be part of it. Not in a mob sense, not in anything like that. Just in a historian sense. I'm a kind of a historian freak myself, a geek freak, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So just being part of this documentary, I mean, it's worthy of anything these guys put together. James and Nick being the director, is just they really do good work. They put a lot into their documentaries, and this one I think is Emmy caliber, and that's not because I got anything to do with it. Obviously, it's not me, but just the way they put stuff together, and this is going to be a good one.
No, I spoke with Toronto, and the highest respect for him. I want to get him on the show. So, without again, we're not going to give too much away, but I also want to kind of ask this question. You had guys, Knickerbocker Avenue in Brooklyn, a lot of the Bananos, respect for a lot of your ex-colleagues, if you will. These guys are
not so much mine, but people I knew. You got to remember.
Well, I don't want to date you, but you're younger than that.
Well, no, my thing is, I want to make this clear too. My perspective in this documentary is one as of somebody who knew from the outside and not the inside. Let's get that straight. I was
what I'm saying is respectfully, Knickerbocker Avenue, the Columbos were your brethren,
the Bananos.
In a sense, where whether you probably knew a cousin, an uncle, a friend, a father, a
little bit more, but anyway, back to what I'm saying. It's things that we gathered all together as people, things that we've gone through. There's people that lost their lives during that whole era. That's another topic that's going to be discussed. It was the 80s in Sicily. It was a wild west times 20.
Well, so okay, and again, what we're going to do is we're going to put a link to the Narco Wars piece below, and then either Wednesday night or Thursday, probably Thursday night, we're going to unpack the whole episode. We're going to need you to watch it. We're going to ask you to watch it because when we unpack it with Frank and he's able to speak more about it, it'll make sense.
Oh yeah, and I'd be glad to answer you guys' questions about stuff that I can answer about that I know about. And it'll be fun, after this episode. Obviously, I got sort of a gag order, can't talk about anything really about the episode until it airs. But until then, I really recommend for all you guys that are into anything that is involving our country, greatest country in the world, by the way, and the mob, and whatever was going on in Afghanistan with their little war against Russia. This is the episode to watch.
Love it. What we're going to do is going to stop here. I'm going to tell you why.
Sure.
I'm going to irritate the crap out of Frank, trying to probe, watch Narco Wars.
Oh, yeah, you want to stop? Okay.
Watch Narco Wars tomorrow night. Nat Geo. Francesco Fiordilino is featured along with very much other prominent individuals that were around at the time.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of angles. You're going to see it from the victim standpoint, from the victims' families. You're going to see it from the actual drug dealers. You're going to see it from our U.S. government standpoint and where we were at the time, and families that were around at the time that knew what was going on, more or less. And
correct.
So,
and I do want to set up the first two episodes. The first episode, I don't know if it's the first episode, but you have the French connection, right? I think everybody kind of knows about that, right? But then after the French connection, there was a little bit of a gap. There was a vacuum at the time, right? Because although it was French and also was Sicilian, if you were a heroin importer or you were a distro here in the U.S., there was a little bit of a gap. The Golden Triangle prior to the pizza connection was pretty hot too. And the CIA facilitated that, which they talk about in episode 2, which is already there. So I would go back and check out episode 2 before you watch episode 3. Then episode 3 delves into the Mujahideen and the Sicilian connection, which I am like super excited about. So for just
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, that's anybody who knows me. I look at the business end of Cosa Nostra, and I'm fascinated by how Cosa Nostra at the time ruled the heroin market, how only certain families here capitalize on that, specifically Bonanno and Gambino, some Lucchese, some Genovese, no Colombo as far as I know, and how they decided to kind of intertwine themselves. And the pizza connection could be its own separate episode, which we'll talk about. But yeah, this is pretty big stuff, Frank, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and so am I. I again, as being part of this in a history part of it, not anything to do with mob, which obviously it does, but it's got a lot of angles that people are going to appreciate, especially those people who are into all those conspiracy theories. Like I just said before, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's. I'll put it to you this way: there's somebody in the administration at the time that's going to be in this documentary, and you guys are going to be like, "Wow."
Don't get me started. There's a lot more to it, and we'll address that on Friday. Frank, thanks for popping on. We know you're at the pool. We know you're enjoying yourself. Please, your leave.
Well, no, I'm not in the pool right now, but yeah, I'm at the pool, but not in the pool. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, you'll jump in the pool after this. And thank you for being on the Armchair NBA and collaboration with
Bob
Suzanne. Thanks, brother.
All right. Take it easy, buddy.